What are your...
Well, first it was the Leeward Islands, then the Virgin Islands, then Puerto Rico, and then the island of Hispaniola. All have been affected very badly by Hurricane George, which at one time was a very powerful Category 4 hurricane, has now been downgraded to a Category 1 hurricane. So that is some good news we can pass along to you, but that too may change. Let's give you the latest on Hurricane George as of the 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time advisory. We'll be getting the next advisory out at 5 a.m. But at this time, 19.2 north, 72.5 west, that centers the hurricane, 675 miles southeast of Miami, Florida, or just to the northwest of Port-au-Prince there in the capital of Haiti. The wind's now down to 75 miles an hour. Any lower than that, and we'll be talking about a tropical storm. West-northwest at 14 miles an hour, and the central pressure estimated at 986 millibars. We really have not had any Air Force reconnaissance aircraft in the center, obviously, as it's passed over the island of Hispaniola with mountains there upwards of 10,000 feet high. You wouldn't be flying a Air Force Reserve reconnaissance plane in and out of that eye. Too dangerous for that. Plus, that is an international airspace. However, we do have some estimates of the pressure, and we do think that this hurricane has dramatically weakened. We can tell that by the satellite perspective, which we'll show you in just a moment. Here are the warnings, and they are out for the Dominican Republic and Haiti, the entire island, really, of Hispaniola still, Turks and Caicos Islands, the southeast Bahamas, and the eastern tip of Cuba. There are hurricane watches out for the central Bahamas as well as central Cuba at the present time. And there may need to be hurricane watches issued for the northern Bahamas, South Florida, including the Keys, as we head through the morning hours or midday hours on your Wednesday. Now, here's the latest satellite imagery we have for you here. What we have is a weakening hurricane, but notice there still is a lot of dark red indicated here over the Dominican Republic, over these higher elevations here. And that is where moisture on the south side of the hurricane getting pulled up here from the Caribbean and upsloped, if you will, into these mountains. There have just been tremendous downpours. 1-2 feet of rain, very, very likely, much as you saw in Puerto Rico last night. A lot of mudslides, likely, flooding, likely, with this system. It went right over the Dominican Republic and now Haiti. But we think the center is about ready to come back out over the open waters between Haiti and Cuba. Now, the question is, where does it go from here? And does it strengthen? We think that if that center stays over water, if it doesn't go right back over Cuba and move up the length of Cuba, that would be a track that would keep it disorganized and would not let it strengthen. It would bring a lot of rain to Cuba and some wind, but it would not allow it to strengthen. However, if that center moves south or just north of Cuba and stays over water, then there could be re-intensification, and that is what the Hurricane Center is forecasting. This is the general track off to the west-northwest. And again, as we head out 2 to 3 days, it will be in this general vicinity of South Florida, maybe just to the west or even just to the east of Florida. But again, the threat here is across Cuba, the Bahamas, and into South Florida as we head through the next 2.5, 3 days. Stay tuned. That could be amended. As we head back to the lower 48, by contrast to our hurricane, things are very tranquil. We've had a cold front slip down from the north. Temperatures behind it, particularly out in the high plains where the clouds hung in today, were very cool. Places like Amarillo, Texas, 57 degrees, about 20 degrees below average for this time of the year. You can see where the front was. It was 98. That was a record in Dallas, to 71 in Oklahoma City, 91 in Little Rock to 74 in St. Louis. Summery 88 in Atlanta. It is backed off there to 73, 77 in Charleston. But notice the coolish air to the north. That is our big Canadian high pulls down, and then there's another front behind that and another shot of cooler air coming in behind that. 'Tis the season for the cool air masses to start pushing south, and this one's going to head all the way down here deep into the south. The front will actually end up down here along almost the Gulf Coast. So from Jacksonville along I-10 all the way to Baton Rouge and New Orleans over to Houston, that's where the biggest threat for showers and storms will be, although the rain in Florida not associated with the hurricane just yet. And of course, we'll be watching George to see where its track moves it as we head through the day Wednesday. That'll be critical. Not much rain to report to you through the overnight hours. There's a look at your overnight lows, the frost and freeze advisories, northern parts of the lakes, and there's the highs. Now a few city forecasts.
You know, ever since we started telling players that oversized is overrated, tour players kept coming up to me all the time and saying, "Come on, Raj, is it really that good? All I know is this. No club gets to be #1 on any pro tour without paying the players unless it's head and shoulders better than anything else they've ever used." You know, the Tri-Metal's so good, it's changing the opinions of even the toughest critics in the game.
People who know me, I don't get too excited about anything. And I don't endorse anything I don't use or believe in. I use Tri-Metal, and I believe in Tri-Metal.
I'm telling you, this club's for real. This is the direction golf is headed. And it's so hot the golf pros can't even keep it in stock. Oversized is over. The Tri-Metal is the right size club.
Call now to receive your free video on the Tri-Metal. We'll also rush you a free subscription to Great Golf Magazine, the insider's guide to new technology and in-depth interviews from the world of golf. Call the number on your screen now for your complimentary subscription and free video.
There's something about the weather that affects everybody.
Residents of South Florida and the Keys are on the move. Time to pull back and board up in preparation for the possible arrival of a hurricane. That hurricane is George, pounding Haiti, poised to hit Cuba. It's a little weaker, but there's still plenty of time to rebuild its strength. Good morning and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Marnie Stanier. We'll have the latest on George's path and what that means for the southeastern United States. Plus, we'll have a look at what you can expect stateside. Miami has a chance for an isolated storm later. Sunny conditions are ahead for the nation's capital, and it will be windy in New York City with a hint of fall temperatures. But first, for the latest on George, let's go to Bruce Edwards in the Forecast Center.
Thanks, Marnie, and good morning, everyone. Indeed, George is stealing the headlines again this morning as it spent the night over the island of Hispaniola, coming through the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and it is still over the island at the present time. Satellite picture cranks up, and it's a colorized version, and the eye appears to be just beginning to move off the extreme and northern tip of Haiti, right about in that approximate position right there. Here's the latest information from the Hurricane Center. Actually, we've got a new update that's coming out even as we speak, so we'll have the latest information for you. But as of the 2 a.m. advisory, here's, well, wait a minute, we got the latest. Here it is. Okay, 19.5 north, 73.3 west is where the present position of the hurricane as it continues to work its way towards the west at about 13 knots thereabouts. Central pressure 986 millibars. It's been over land through the overnight hours. It is weakened, maximum winds at 75 miles an hour, and it continues to work its way off Hispaniola. Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane specialist, has now joined us in the studio, and you got the latest information hot off the presses, so to speak. And it's been over land overnight. It has weakened down to a minimal hurricane, but what's next is the big question.
Well, the big dilemma here is, of course, it's going to come off probably as a Category 1 off the coast, and the circulation aloft and the sea surface temperatures are very favorable for deepening. So they expect, the Hurricane Center expects, and we expect here at the Weather Channel also, that the system will develop once it gets back off the coast. Take a little more northwest track, west-northwest track, and head toward the Keys in South Florida, and that's why the hurricane watches have been put up.
That's right. We've got the watches and warnings for you there. You can see once again warnings still in effect for the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Turks and Caicos Islands, southeast Bahamas, and eastern Cuba. These will likely be updated with this latest advisory as probably a shift off the Dominican Republic perhaps, and then advancing those warnings up in towards the Keys. You got some new information, Doctor?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I don't have it right here, but I'm pretty sure they put up watches for the South Florida coast and the Keys and probably the North Bahamas here as well. So hurricane watches, I believe, have gone up there, and I don't know right offhand what the northern extent of the watch is. I will find that in just a second.
Yeah, we're just getting that information right from the Hurricane Center even as we speak. We look at the wind field here, and you can see once again that hurricane force winds are continuing across the Dominican Republic, portions of that, and the country of Haiti. Now we have information that a hurricane watch is in effect for South Florida from Deerfield Beach southward on the east coast, and from Bonita Beach southward on the west coast of Florida, and that includes, of course, the Florida Keys, Monroe, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Collier counties under a hurricane watch right now. Now, folks have started their preparations and should well have started their preparations across South Florida and Miami. Residents are getting the swing, getting what's necessary to prepare their homes and property for the threat of a hurricane. Of course, massive purchases of plywood, boarding up homes. Many folks in Miami ran out to get supplies, and again, that's a smart thing to do well ahead of the system, because it is continuing to bear down on the islands now and the South Florida region. Now, we look at the strike probability of this system, and again, there's a swath there, but boy, oh boy, South Florida looks like, again, you're looking down the barrel.
Right. If you look at the system's history, it's come on a very, very steady track. If that track continued, it would miss South Florida and the Keys. However, we do expect, with an upper level low pressure system over in here, that it's going to swing a little bit more northward and take a track generally toward the Keys or maybe South Florida, and it's a little bit too early to call exactly where this far out, so the best and safest thing to do is put up watches anyway, just in case it does swing a little farther north.
That eye is just, it appears to be just right on the northwestern tip there of Haiti, working its way off towards that westerly direction, getting over some warm waters around the Windward Passage.
That's correct. The circulation center is roughly in there, and the overall circulation, of course, is much larger, which is here. The landfall time frame is sometime around Sunday morning, Sunday midday, but keep in mind the hurricane force winds could come before that, and that's why they put up the 36-hour hurricane watch, and it's in effect now.
Now, we have yesterday, of course, tourists, non-residents of the Keys were asked to evacuate, and that may become a full-scale evacuation today for the Florida Keys and South Florida, because you see Highway 1 there. Can you describe for folks why it is so imperative that everyone gets out and gets out early?
That's correct, and of course the Keys are very vulnerable. They have one route out of here, up that Coast Highway 1, and so it's very important that people in Dade County and Broward County up in here under the hurricane watch do not evacuate until they're told to do so that the people in the Keys can get out. Otherwise, you clog the roads and block the people in the Keys. And of course, the worst case scenario is for these people to be trapped on the causeway there when a hurricane approaches. That's the absolute worst case scenario. So,
and again, as you mentioned, though, you'll be feeling tropical force storm winds and then eventually hurricane force winds well ahead of when the center of the storm comes in. So it's not like an isolated thunderstorm. This is a mammoth storm that you'll feel the effects long before it comes ashore.
That is correct. Don't pay too much attention to the actual position of the eye, but rather the overall center of the circulation.
All right, thank you, Dr. Steve Lyons, with the latest information. We'll, of course, have complete updates on the action going on with Georges all through the course of the day today, and we'll keep you updated on the latest evacuation notices as we receive them. Now, once again, if you want to get the information while you're at work today, tune in on the internet. Weather.com will get you in control. Now, Marnie has a look at the rest of the nation's weather on this Wednesday morning. Marnie?
All right, thanks so much, Bruce. Across the rest of the lower 48, things are very, very quiet. We have a few sprinkles in down East Maine. Nice, cool, crisp start in the Great Lakes. Cooler air is moving into the southeast, too. We don't have an awful lot of rain to talk about over the eastern half of the nation. We do have a few sprinkles, though, over the Intermountain region. This weather center is sponsored by Midas. High pressure over the Great Lakes today, and again, a cool, crisp start for folks here. We had some showers earlier. They're pretty much clearing out of the picture, so a better day here, but a little blustery at times. 54 now in Boston with some stronger winds, 59 in New York City. Currently in Philly, it's also 59. 71 in Atlanta, 72 Birmingham, and 75 in Orlando. So there you see it, the satellite picture quieting down considerably in this region. A lot of clear skies this morning. We had some rain overnight, but that has quieted down quite a bit. So there's your current weather picture put back together. The long-range outlook is for this high to continue to push into the eastern seaboard. The winds should subside, too, in the northeast. Right now there's a strong pressure gradient between the high and this front moving through. But
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso. Thanks for joining us for Storm Watch. This edition brought to you by Pella. We'll start our Storm Watch segment by checking the tropics. Of course, all eyes are on George, which continues to plow its way across Hispaniola, moving across the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And now the big question is when does George start to make its turn up towards the northwest? Still a lot of uncertainty as to where it goes from here. There are indications that it could turn up through the Bahamas, or it could continue to plow right into the Caribbean, into the Gulf of Mexico. And notice the past track of George, pretty steady state here, just moving slightly north of due west. And it's still on that track here, west-northwesterly at 14 miles per hour, 19.5 north, 73.3 west. That position about 620 miles southeast of Miami, Florida, or about 120 miles off to the east of Guantanamo and Cuba. Estimated pressure 986 millibars. So this storm really roughed up by the high terrain of the island of Hispaniola here, and mountains up to 9,500 feet. Really weakened our circulation. Winds down to 75 miles an hour, barely a Category 1 hurricane, so just a minimal hurricane. But with our circulation center getting over this little patch of water here, the windward passage, there is the potential for a little strengthening, but then forecast track, all dependent upon where it goes, because there are some tall mountains here getting up to 6,000 feet in eastern Cuba, so that would rough this up even further. But then after that, well, there's a lot of warm waters in the Florida Straits, so that would allow further re-intensification of the storm. As mentioned, a lot of uncertainty. There's still the potential that this could curve to the north and go more towards the west, but the official track from the Hurricane Center takes it right up towards the Keys on Friday morning. So that is the reason why we are so concerned for those of you in South Florida. And already hurricane watches have been issued for South Florida. These just posted from Deerfield Beach all the way over to Bonita Beach, and that does include the Keys. That watch means hurricane conditions are possible in 72 hours. Hurricane warnings, central southeast Bahamas, central eastern Cuba, and still hurricane warnings around Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And the Dominican Republic really took a lashing with high winds and heavy rains yesterday. Here's a look at our wind profile around the storm. Tropical storm force winds just brushing the east tip of Cuba. Hurricane force winds in a small area now, just getting over the windward passage. It should be rather rough currently in Port-au-Prince. That's where the center circulation is fairly close to, but unfortunately we do not get any weather observations out of here, especially when you have an intense system like this right overhead. Here's the infrared satellite picture. Boy, look at the Dominican Republic. They're getting hammered with heavy rains. Now into Haiti, getting into the heavy rains here. We saw in Puerto Rico in the mountainous areas 10 to 25 inches of rainfall, so you're pretty certain that I'm seeing more of the same in through here. Here's your circulation center, and it's still moving west-northwest, but the forecast track does expect more of a northwest turn with time. Complete update and Weather Center at the top of the hour. As we get you over to the East Atlantic, here's Ivan, a tropical storm. It's moving its way northward, no big threat. This one here is Jeanne. It's a hurricane. This is moving west-northwesterly. By Friday morning, to be about 1,000 miles east of San Juan, Puerto Rico. Does not look like it will be a threat to the eastern Caribbean. Here you can see Jeanne on our satellite picture just to the west of the Cape Verde Islands. And Typhoon Vicky now pulling well away from Japan. Closer to home, big high pressure, cooler, dry conditions. Could be a frosty night in the northeast tonight.
Tropical weather systems are affected by so many variables.
We constantly monitor the situation.
If someone is safer by watching the Weather Channel, that's what it's all about.
This program was sponsored by Pella Windows and Doors. Pella, viewed to be the best.
A time for us, someday there'll be, when chains are torn by courage born of a love that's free. A time when dreams so long denied.
Only Pella Windows offers the between the glass feature, which keeps your shades protected from dust, dirt, and other unwanted elements.